Hello everyone. Sorry it's been a long time since I took a whole month break. I was having a lot of studying, I guess. Today I really want to talk about how I want to give Alien Force its animated movies and what I want to do and how my schedule is going to work. Talking about how to be consistent, how it'll work. Hey, here's my new avatar. I have at least 36 reasons on why UAF should get its animated movies. And one of the reasons is because of how well it would translate. Because Alien Force and Ultimate Alien feel like shows that should have gotten their animated films, especially alongside all the other shows around its time. It feels so unfair for Alien Force and Ultimate Alien to not get their animated movies, while all the other shows are getting theirs, like the classic series and all the other shows in the 2010s. I was inspired by the likes of Studio Archie and Studio Eclipse to make this project. Studio Archie is currently working on the second season of the 90s Berserk, whereas Studio Eclipse is currently working on a continuation of the Golden Age Memorial Edition adapting the Black Swordsman. Also, I felt inspired that you can make anything possible if you just try hard enough. It's never too late. And who knows, I might plan to make my own manga studio, then anime studio. I'm currently working on an Albedo Volume 2 manga. I choose to do one film after each season of UAF is because of my inspirations with Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z, but to also explore and utilize a lot of potential as much as possible, and so everyone can have personal preferences on what's their favorite one out of each series. This could also be me taking a jab back at Cartoon Network for not doing a single film for UAF that is animated. That's why I want to do the first movie after the first season of Alien Force. Doing that first gives us more potential to make more. Quick note, Alien Force was making a lot of money during its second season and would have made even more if they didn't change to the third season, and Ultimate Alien was at its peak, having a lot of theme parks and stuff. The live actions were their own thing, and they made up their own rules. And I want my animated films to follow the same rules as other show-based films where they upscale things, rather than detract from it. They aren't bothered by terrible low-budget live action. They can fully express themselves in animation. We want to continue from Secrets of the Omnitrix because Destroy All Aliens came out in 2012, kind of like with the Dragon Ball and Naruto films, essentially, where it's after the first season of the sequel series, where it's the movie for that show. Plan to grow as a writer, so starting off with an adaptation of the video game could work. Besides, it's after the events of Season 1 and could work for a perfect climax to that season. Gorvan is a character who is canon, and it's unknown whether the video game is canon or not, but in my film it will be because this version will be animated, and because we want to adapt him back into the Alien Force art style. I'm also using his Alien Force 2D images like a reference sheet for animators. Going to be adding stuff that'll upscale the plot to movie quality to make it worth being a movie. Going to be adding new aliens to the roster, new OC characters, and we're going to twerk the villain up to make him more of a distinct main villain. We're going to make him from a random hybrid to someone much stronger. I do wish the hybrid from episode 6 of season 1, the video game, and season 3 was all one hybrid, like the Zhao of Alien Force or something. You could do something more than that for a film, something more reminiscent to that. Also be adding in new elements and more villains added onto this film. Besides, not everyone's always going to play the game. Also want to give it a subtitle after the term Alien Force. Kind of like with most show-based films. If they were only going to call it Alien Force, they should have had the video game adapt season 1, so not everyone is missing out on something. Just wanted to make a new story, then give it its own subtitle after the title of Benton Alien Force, at least. That's what Vilgax Attacks does, so it would be better to have the new story be animated as well. Vilgax Attacks is the Protector of Earth of Alien Force. Protector of Earth took place after season 3, which was clear. I use a software called IBIS Paint X, where I do science fiction artworks. I had multiple layers for each frame, and especially with the colors and lightings. Then I use CapCut to edit those into one full animation. Most of the frames are usually transparent, so I overlay them over the main image. I usually used the frames as the video game as a storyboard. I might make some new storyboards for the new stuff that I might add as well. It took at least 3 months to do the 6-second animation animation for me because I did it all on my phone, which was impressive. My brother even said I should start working for Mappa and animate Sukuna vs. Gojo. This is going to take a really long time since I'm the only one storyboarding and animating this stuff. Keep in mind, this will be a movie that is going to have upscaled quality. In the future, I'll make my own animation studio and I might have help from some animators despite watching a few animation tutorials. Hopefully, I will rise above the ranks alongside with Dan Boy Wonder and the Ink Tank. So I want to make the films look like they came out around the same time as the show, during and after, to reuse some of the soundtrack just a little and add a bunch of new soundtrack that's reminiscent of the old soundtrack. Make it sound more theatrical like what they did for the classic series as films. To lean into more inspiration from the Dragon Ball films, I decided to use some rock band music. Could try to get the license or make a different version of the film. I like to use songs like In the End, Smell Like a Teen Spirit, Buddy Holly, The Anthem, Open Your Heart, American Idiot, You're Going Too Far Kid, Stompbox, Roll the Dice, Monster, and Going Under. Mainly by Good Chariot, The Weezers, Crush 40, Nirvana, Green Day, Evanescence, The Offspring, Linkin Park, and Skillet. Could save Monster by Skillet for something else later on, like the third film. Right now, this will do. I think these could fit the tone for Alien Force if it got its animated movie. And of course, there's going to be plenty more. Also have different playlists for future Alien Force and Ultimate Alien films. Look, I love the song Just a Little Faster. I think it'd be better if I use that for a future animated Ultimate Alien movie, specifically after season 1. I think the song works so much better for Ultimate Alien instead of Alien Force. My exposure to the song was Ultimate Alien and Heroes United music videos, but then when I watched the live action, I was completely mortified. The live action of Alien Force had no right to play that song whatsoever. The song was a poor fit. Ben still has the Alien Force Omnitrix at this time, and it's live action, and he's driving a car he should drive later on. All he's doing in that scene is just driving around, and it's so boring and so pretentious and obnoxious. If Ultimate Alien got its animated movie and used the song, it would be so much better and more fitting, and they'd have more fun scenes with the song. So for my second animated film for Alien Force, I'll use Last Resort or Believe In, and since the car looked different in the live action compared to Ultimate Alien, I'll confirm that by having the car be destroyed and then get changed for a new one when we get to Ultimate Alien. And it could explain why Ben didn't have a car in season 3 of Alien Force. I just finished Hilda Season 2 and Hilda and the Mountain King, and I love seeing voice actors start off with the show and then go on to do the movie. Favorite recent example is Sean Schimmel Goku and Terry Hawk's Sailor Moon. Trust me, I will watch the Viz dub soon, especially Tara Strong as Ben Tennyson and most of the cast, for both classic and the reboot. As I've said before, it was unfair that Yuri Lowenthal never got to do any animated movies for his iterations. Now, to be fair though, I am glad that he still got to do movies for his other shows like Naruto Shippuden, Gurren Lagann, and Code Geass, and probably more. We're gonna have to ignore his roles in UAF and OV, unless if they got their animated films at least, because Yuri Lowenthal is known for playing mostly show and video game roles. And he has a lot of potential, not gonna lie. If UAF and OV got their animated films, they'd be some of the best animated films and could be Yuri Lowenthal's definitive movies. They could be his best work he's ever done. It would solidify Yuri Lowenthal to have all 3 categories, voice actor for video game, show, and film, to try and even everything. And this problem also affects the other voice actors of the show as well, like Greg Sipes and Ashley Johnson. And it's another reason why I hate the live action, because it's weird not hearing Yuri Lowenthal. It's weird hearing them say crap that is not in the show and never said by any of the voice actors. It creates a disconnect that I don't like. If they were adapting lines from the show, I wouldn't mind. I would have loved to see the voice actors of UAF and OV getting to express their roles in a feature-length film where they could push the boundaries of their vocal performances. I might have to do the voices for most of the characters and might have to use a filter and use some of my friends as well. Hopefully I might start a petition and ask for permission for the actual voice actors someday in the future if I get to meet them. Much like with what other fan projects do, especially the Ink Tank, where I could finally give them the justice they deserve. Who knows, I might get some anime voice actors that have worked with Yuri Lowenthal in the past, like Johnny Young Bosch and Michelle Ruff, and probably some new ones like Michelle Newman from Berserk 97. Right now I've planned the first 3 films for Alien Force, that being Secrets of the Hybrid, Rising Rebellion against the Mirage Nanoswarm, and the Sacred Cybertrix of the Cyber Galaxy. The first two films would be over an hour and 10 minutes, probably an hour and 13, whereas the third movie is going to be over an hour and 20 minutes. Currently working on the script for Secrets of the Hybrid. The way I write the script, I divide the events up into a 13 chapter/episode order, like a season. Ben to use as much aliens as he could, and especially the new aliens. He probably might have 3 to 4. We'd also like to flesh out the relationships between the UAF trio and the new characters added onto the roster for the movie. There's going to be 2 brothers, and Gwen might actually be the bridge between the 2 of them. Gorvan will have a close student and master relationship. Have Ben and Sora have a little bit of a bromance just in this movie, I think. Later down the line when we get to Ultimate Alien, Sora might end up being protective over the waifu tricks. There'd be more subtle adult humor and just a little bit of cursing like crap. We could end up tackling more realistic issues that we face in our real world, much like what the show did, but on a more massive scale. Because this is a movie, you can get away with more stuff. More on that subject, there is so much potential for what you could do for an Alien Force or Ultimate Alien animated film. I'd like to hear some ideas what you would want to see for some of these movies, I guess. Remember, there are some rules that we gotta follow. Sure to follow the movie equals season rule. When we get a movie after a season, the movie has to use stuff from the previous season since it's based around that season specifically, and also adding its new elements like what Secrets of the Omnitrix and Destroy All Aliens did. But we can't just use elements that'll happen later on in the next seasons or something like that. Those elements are meant to originate in that future season. The closest you get is little teasers at the post-credits and small hints, but it will mainly prioritize over what's happening at its time. First movie would be like a fun version of the PS2 game. The second movie might be a little bit of a reimagining of the live action. It's going to adapt everything, of course. I know I hate the live action, but I think I can fix it. The third movie would be after season 3, and it would be cyber sci-fi themed. And playing into the genre, Ben is going to have the Ultimatrix turn into the Alien Force Omnitrix for obvious reasons, because we want to save the ultimate stuff for the Ultimate Alien animated films. For that Race Against Time animated season adaptation, I'm still waiting for whether I should do it first or do it after. But I have been rewatching the first couple seasons of the classic series for both Ben 10 and Avatar with my friend, so maybe someday in the future I might update you on something, I guess. I have released the first background though. But as always, thanks for watching. This is all you need to know. Feel free to subscribe, share, like, and comment.